Hello again. Now it's for us time to get started. First and foremost, we need to verify that our transponder is set to standby, and in our case, well, we will be flying IFR. Even if it's a VFR, very short VFR flight, we'll be flying during instrumental flight rules. The DME is located set to on. We have let's see here, flight controls need to be tested, and so let's do that, shall we? Left and right, and make sure that the wheel steering is set to neutral position like it is right now, and check your rudder. Rudder check complete. Trims, as stated, you guys remember it needs to be set on 23. And the actual aileron trim, everything set as it should be currently, in addition to the rudder trim. Flaps, we are very light today and the runway is quite long, over 1,600 meters, so we will set position 5. Position 5 set on the flaps, and it can be located on here. Wheel steering, let's see here, set to taxi on the up position. This gives you, I think it's either 70 or 90 degree deflection. If you set it to the down position, which is the takeoff and landing mode, this gives you only 10% correction, 10 degree deflection. Okay. Wheel steering has been set, and we can now set the lights. Now remember the buttons that I told you to map. So in this case, watch down here. So you hold the extend the lights for approximately 5 to 10 seconds, like so, and then you engage the switch down here to the taxi range, which is at the bottom. So taxi lights can be used however much you like. However, if you use landing lights, they must be used at maximum 2 minutes when you are on the ground. In the air it doesn't matter, but on the ground it needs to be at maximum 2, because the lights will burn out if the failure system of X-plane is enabled. So taxi lights have been now set. Forgot to close, like so. Perfect. And we can go ahead and start taxiing. Now, in my case, when I taxi, what I do is I move up one throttle to the ground, to the flight idle position. But before we do that, we need to make sure that the RU19 switch is and that the RU19 is set to off completely. EGT is now going down. Okay, there we go. And let's move this one up a little bit like so and push it backwards as much as you can. This will put it inside the flight idle position currently set. Okay, there we go, flight idle. This will provide you with sufficient thrust. In the meantime, let's engage our radar and make sure that of course, that the altimeter is, in our case, since we are flying in Russia, now at Yuli this may not be the case, but we are going to be flying with the QFE setting of 758. Like so. Perfect. And set. Okay, let's go. Parking brake is now off. If you are quite heavily loaded aircraft, I do recommend that you just increase the propeller power a little bit, thrust power a tad bit. So maximum 30 kilometers per hour in ground speed. And make sure that you use the brakes included. Now to move the propeller from the flight idle position, current set, to the ground idle position like that of the engine, left-hand engine, you need to use the button that you have mapped before. Easily accessible. So in my case, I'm clicking on it. Let's see here, and now. So this aircraft will slow down pretty much by itself, and I have to use a little bit of braking. That's okay. Okay, parking is now set. So we need to do a couple of tests now and set ourselves up for takeoff. First and foremost, the auto feather test. So the way we pass the auto feather test is by, in our case, setting the temperature, outside air temperature for the flight idle position. Since it's 15 degrees out, it's a range between 11 and 20. We put it up to the second stage. If it's 21 degrees out plus to 30, you put it on the third, and everything that's below 10 is going to be put on the furthest down position as possible. So let's go put them on the flight idle like so, and wait for the engines to spool up. You will hear the sound once they are stabilized. Okay, engines have been now stabilized, and let's do our testing. Now in the case the testing fails, this switch here will go inside. Well, go inside this panel here. What you need to do then is you need to drag it backwards and then repeat the test. If the test fails, you have to contact the mechanic, and you shouldn't be flying. You need to fix the failures in the expense failure system. So let's try it out first and foremost. Let's do our auto feather test. Move the throttles to the 40% position, like so. Check stable. We are stable. Auto feather system is armed. Now let's fail it. And it takes over, as you can see. And we can reduce it to flight idle position again. Close down the auto feather test panel. Okay, so auto feather test has been passed. Flight idle protection is set. This is the flight idle protection. Pitot heat. It's not only pitot heat, but let's cluster them here. Make sure if the testing is at the down position, and then switch them to on and armed at the top position, like so. Bleeds, which are located next to the passenger signs, are located here, left and right. However, they mustn't be used during takeoff sequence and landing, only during climb, stable climb, that is. So verified off. Autopilot functionality located down here. I'm going to set it. I'm not going to explain to you guys what it does currently. However, just I'm going to cover it in later videos. However, you need to note that it's primed by checking that there's a yellow light here. So autopilot has been primed. The lights need to be moved up here to the takeoff position. In our case, we are going to set now on squawk mode Sierra, and let's head out. We are heading out to line ourselves up. As you can see, we had tad a bit too much thrust, so I'm going to cut the thrust now. There we go. And we have successfully lined up. Like so. Okie dokie. So, now that we are lined up, parking brake needs to be on position. So, pitch stop switch, which will turn from, as I explained earlier on, this will turn the propeller blades from 90 degrees to 8 degrees flight stage. So I'm going to set that now. Wheel steering, set to takeoff. And we are pretty much ready. This is just a low fuel warning switch, nothing to care about. And let's engage our weather radar. Okay, there we go. We are set up for takeoff. I'm quite satisfied here. Just gonna drag them like so, and let's go. First and foremost, set it on flight idle. Let's the engine stabilize. Once the engine is stabilized, remove the let's see here. Once the engine is stabilized, make sure to remove the parking brake, and up we go. And auto feather around. It wants to pull a little bit to the right. Let's go. And let's go. 180. Hold approximately 5 degrees up. And the airplane will want to turn to either right or left. Gear is going up. Hold 5 degrees up. Now in our case, something that a lot of you guys will be using is the autopilot. So let's give ourselves autopilot like so. It's not engaged yet. Okay, so we are still in the climb, passing 1,000 feet. We want to climb as fast as possible, so just continue moving on like so. Okay, 1,500 acceleration height, and move up the flaps. Flaps are up, and there we go. So now's the time to set our thrust to climb, which is 65% RPM, and engage the autopilot. So autopilot is a little bit shaky today, but no problem. Okay, there we go. And make sure that the bleeds are now engaged. So, gear, set to neutral thrust as required. Landing lights, almost forgot. Hold 10 seconds. Make sure they are off and rejected. Landing lights are rejected. Blades are on, and in a couple of minutes check that the pressure is on as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to level off at 3,500. When you are climbing, you want to hold just a little bit over 300 kilometers per hour. And there we go. Altitude hold engaged. And setting up for cruise airspeed at this very low level. So let's just say that we have made it to the cruise. So what we need to do now is we need to go to this side here, and once in cruise you need to disable the passenger signs. The reason why you only do it in cruise is simply because you need to stay stable during your ascent. It's a very critical phase, and it's very easily stalled aircraft if the passengers start to move around within the cockpit. So we have reached our cruise, and let's disengage it like so. And let's check pressure climbing a little bit, but not much, and that's okay. So everything is perfect, and this is the end of this video. See you soon for upcoming descent and approach.